All right, shalom, and welcome to another Bible study that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Lithonia, Georgia. My name is Esaac ben Israel, and I'm the elder priest of the United Congregation of Israel. And I'm joined here today with one of our associate priests, Brother Mishael. Shalom, my brother.
Shalom, brother.
All right, so we're going to get into a few things tonight. Of course, you guys know that we are just days away from our set of holy days. Of course, beginning with the Passover. So there's a few things that I would like to go into as we are coming close to those days. There's the thing with Passover is a lot of times people liken it unto the way people keep Easter. And what happens is you will find people who celebrate Easter, but they don't really profess to be practicing Christians. All right, meaning that they won't go to church any other time. They won't do any other thing. They won't really observe any other thing except Christmas. But when it comes to Easter, they will participate in that. Sometimes you start to get the same feeling about things when it comes to Passover. You'll find that people will see the importance of it, but they won't see the importance of anything after that. Passover is the beginning of the entire holy story, if you will, as far as the holy days, because each one of these holy days takes its place and has its part in the overall plan of redemption. And when the children of Israel are redeemed, then you have the peace that the earth wants. They are just not aware that there is not that peace on earth without the redemption of the children of Israel. Everything kind of hinges on that. So I want to start tonight in Deuteronomy chapter 12 so that we can get some foundation going on here regarding how we do what we do. Deuteronomy chapter 12, and let's start that at verse 1.
Deuteronomy chapter 12. These are the statutes and judgments which you shall observe to do in the land which Yahweh Elohim of your fathers giveth you to possess it. All the days that you live upon the earth, you shall utterly destroy all the places wherein the nations which you shall possess serve their gods, upon the high mountains and upon the hills and under every green tree.
One of that very first part, under every green tree. When we celebrated Christmas, even though we might go in the room and there were gifts everywhere, there were always things that were under the tree, and you had to go get on your knees, go under that tree to get those gifts. There were certain ones that you were not allowed to open until later on in front of everybody. So there was always that part where we were dealing under this green tree. And we didn't really see that because, this was handed down from generation to generation. So Yahweh is so serious about this. He says, you shall not plant you a grove of these green trees near his altar, because he already knows what man has set up, what the adversary, the devil, has set up for man. And he doesn't want that mixed in with what he does, even though Yahweh Elohim is the one who made the tree. What man has decided to do with the tree, he does not want that near his altar. He wants a clear separation or sanctification from the things that man and the adversary, the devil, has gotten into. Go ahead.
And you shall overthrow their altars and break their pillars and burn their groves with fire. And you shall hew down the graven images of their gods and destroy the names of them out of that place.
All right, so this is quite a violent action. All right. When you talk about the removal of other gods, you shall overthrow their altars. Remember, when Yeshua wasn't pleased with what happened in his father's house, he went and turned over the table of money. It was not a peaceful action whatsoever. So here we are. How many of us, when we read the things of Yeshua, Christ turning over those tables, because at that point, they're having money exchange in the temple. They're selling all of the things that's needed. He said, my father's house is not a house of merchandise. And he turned over those tables. Well, a lot of times people want to talk about the love of Christ, but they don't understand that his love is based on his father's law. So that same zeal that caused him to turn that table over is the very thing that was in the foundation of the law. He wasn't just turning over a table just because, I just feel like showing my wonderful power at this moment. I feel like somebody. No, the basis of this law. You shall overthrow their altars, break their pillars, burn their groves with fire, groves of trees. Set those trees that they use for worship on fire. Cut down the graven images of their gods and destroy the names of them out of that place. That was the basis behind what Yeshua was doing. Go ahead.
You shall not do so unto Yahweh your Elohim, but unto the place which Yahweh your Elohim shall choose out of all your tribes to put his name there. Even unto his habitation shall you seek, and thither you shall come.
All right, so he's letting you know that the place where he chose to put his name there, where his name is where his spirit is. All right? Not just anybody who can get a sign and know how to spell Yahweh. All right? That's not how that works. All right? There's a whole lot of people that know how to spell. That don't mean that his spirit is there because they could put his name on the building. That's about as strange as the people who believe that whoever reads a prophecy has become a prophet. That is a really strange thought process. Go ahead.
And thither you shall bring your burnt offerings and your sacrifices and your tithes and heave offerings of your hand and your vows and your freewill offerings and the firstlings of your herds and your flocks.
So all of these offerings, all of these things that you bring to offer unto Yahweh is supposed to be brought unto that place. Go ahead.
And there you shall eat before Yahweh your Elohim, and you shall rejoice in all that you put your hand unto, and you and your households wherein Yahweh your Elohim has blessed you.
So then you will find that the place where he chose to place his name there, there's a lot of things going on there, which also makes it very interesting because they still have to maintain sanctification. They still have to maintain a certain separation amongst common things. So then there has to be still a system of order. And whenever you're dealing with a system of order, you're going to hurt some feelings now and then. Go ahead.
You shall not do after all the things that we do there this day. You shall not do after all the things that we do here this day. Every man whatsoever is right in his own eyes. Mm-hmm. For you are not as yet come to the rest and to the inheritance which Yahweh your Elohim giveth you. But when you go over Jordan and dwell in the land which Yahweh your Elohim giveth you to inherit, and when he giveth you rest from all your enemies round about, so that you dwell in safety, then there shall be a place which Yahweh your Elohim shall choose to cause his name to dwell there.
Now, you see that there is a whole setup. Verse 10, but when you go over Jordan and dwell in the land which Yahweh your Elohim gives you to inherit, and when he gives you rest from all your enemies round about, so that you dwell in safety, then there shall be a place which Yahweh your Elohim shall choose to cause his name to dwell there. In other words, you got to go take care of his business first. See, we're ready to dwell in safety. A lot of times, when somebody goes through all the turmoil of setting up a house. People want to come and enjoy that. But hold on, there was some work to do before those people could turn around and find a place to set his name there. There is some, and this is not easy work. It says when you have gotten rest from all your enemies round about, then he shall find a place and place his name there. Go ahead.
Thither shall you bring all that I command you, your burnt offerings, your sacrifices, your tithes, and the heave offering of your hand, and all your choice vows which you vow unto Yahweh. Mm-hmm. And you shall rejoice before Yahweh your Elohim, you and your sons and your daughters and your manservants.
All right, now wait a minute. If it says you and your sons and your daughters, there has to be some things that are going on that doesn't require a clean and unclean situation. Because if you have a situation with their daughters, then there are going to be some situations where those people are not going to be spiritually clean because of a menstrual cycle. Well, then there has to be other times where they are going to still gather in this place. Go ahead.
And your maidservants and the Levite that is within your gates. For as much as he has no part nor inheritance with you, take heed to yourself that you offer not your burnt offerings in every place that you seest, but in the place which Yahweh shall choose in one of your tribes, there you shall offer the burnt offerings, and there you shall do all that I command you, notwithstanding that you mayest kill and eat flesh in all your gates. Whatsoever your soul lusted after, according to the blessing of Yahweh your Elohim, which he has given you, the unclean and the clean may eat thereof, as of the roebuck and as of the hart. Only you shall not eat the blood. You shall pour it upon the earth as water.
Now, what's interesting when you get to this, one of the brothers sent a picture of something that was on a menu, and I've seen something like that before, where it talks about that they describe rare, medium rare, and then when it gets to well done, it actually said a burnt offering. That's what it called, well done, and then it said the chef hates you. Now, what's interesting, I remember going, there was a part where we would go to this restaurant and break, our fast after we had fasted. We would go to this restaurant, and up in the little buffet, they were making steak. And we all would encounter this aggression from the person that's cooking the steak one by one, because as keepers of our heritage, we're going to say, excuse me, I want mine well done. And the person cooking the steak would get angry. And it was interesting to us, how are you getting angry about my food? But, they consider it their work, and they don't want it to be done a certain way. So they have an issue with making it well done. So there are times that you will ask for your steak to be well done. It will be purposely not well done. There are times you have to turn around and cut it in the middle and then turn around and send it right back. And because this was a buffet, we were able to tell them, cut it. I see you ready to put that on my plate, cut it. And then when they cut it and you realize, no, that's not well done, put it back on there. And it was amazing how many of us had to do that because in their mind, they said, oh, this is a juicy steak. No, that's bloody. That's not juice. That's blood. Go ahead.
You mayest not eat within your gates the tithe of your corn or of your wine, or of the oil, or of your oil, or the firstlings of your herds, or of your flock, nor any of your vows which you vowest, nor your freewill offerings, or heave offering of your hand. But you must eat them before Yahweh your Elohim in the place which Yahweh your Elohim shall choose. You and your son and your daughter and your maidservant, and your manservant and your maidservant, and the Levite that is within your gates. And you shall rejoice before Yahweh your Elohim in all that you puttest your hands unto.
Now, listen to this. But you must eat them. Verse 17, you may have not eat within your gates the tithe of your corn, of your wine, of your oil. So this is the tithe of the things that they are getting, or the firstlings of your herd, of your flock. These are things that we are giving unto Yahweh our Elohim, nor any of the vows which you vow. Now, vows that you vow, those are things that you make voluntarily, nor free will offerings or heave offerings of your hand. But you must eat them before Yahweh. So remember the other part where there's always something going on. He says that your sons and your daughters, wait a minute. When a man has offered a vow, that has nothing to do with Yahweh's holy day. As long as they separate themselves from the sanctuary, then the clean and the unclean may come in and partake of that. So now you have festivities going on that have nothing to do with the holy days. Go ahead.
Verse 19. Take heed to yourself that you forsake not the Levite as long as you livest upon the earth. When Yahweh your Elohim shall enlarge your border as he has promised you, and you shall say, I will eat flesh, because your soul longeth to eat flesh. You mayest eat flesh, whatsoever your soul lusteth after. If the place which Yahweh your Elohim has chosen to put his name there be too far from you, then you shall kill of your herd and of your flock, which Yahweh has given you, as I have commanded you, and you shall eat in your gates whatsoever your soul lusted after.
All right, so then you have, we are primarily an online ministry. We have more members online than we have that are in the city where we live. So there will always be a situation where those individuals will be far away from us. This automatically takes care of that. These things were written for the people who might be down the street and decide that they still going to do things at their own house. That's not the same as when it says the place where he chose to place his name there is too far. Now, what we do sometimes, because we want that camaraderie and to be a part of something physically, we go to a place because it is close to us. And this is one of the things that I hear most often, that people do that. And then after a while, they start saying, wait a minute. There's some stuff about this is not right. So we have to be careful about saying, you know what, I'm going to deal with this because it's close to me. And I understand that's human nature. But you have to be very, very careful because as you start, walking a little while, you're going to start noticing the difference in doctrine and how things are being dealt with. And we have to ask ourselves, do we want to be close, or do we want to be right with our Elohim? That's the question we have to ask. Go ahead, brother.
Even as the roebuck and the hart is eaten, so you shall eat them. The unclean and the clean shall eat of them alike. Only be sure that you eat not the blood, for the blood is the life, and you mayest not eat the life with the flesh. You shall not eat it, you shall pour it upon the earth as water. You shall not eat it, that it may go well with you, and with your children after you, when you shall do that which is right in the sight of Yahweh. Only your holy things which you have, your vows, you shall take and go unto the place which Yahweh shall choose. And you shall offer your burnt offerings, the flesh and the blood, upon the altar of Yahweh your Elohim. And the blood of your sacrifices shall be poured out upon the altar of Yahweh your Elohim. And you shall eat the flesh. Observe and hear all these words which I command you, that it may go well with you, and with your children after you forever, when you do that which is good and right in the sight of Yahweh your Elohim.
When you do that which is good and right in the sight of Yahweh your Elohim, not when we do the things that are good and right in our sight. There's a way that seems right to a man, but then there are the ways of Yahweh our Elohim and the things that he has commanded unto us. And that is something altogether different. Those are the things that we are supposed to focus and be about. Let's go to Exodus chapter 19. Exodus chapter 19, and we're going to start that at verse 1.
Exodus chapter 19. In the 3rd month, when the children of Israel were gone forth out of the land of Egypt, the same day came they into the wilderness of Sinai.
So the first thing that we have to notice is it's in the 3rd month. Sanctification is given in threes. So after this separation, if you will, now he brings them into a place that is a different state. You'll find that on the 3rd day, the state changes when it comes down to spiritual things. Go ahead.
For they were departed from Rephidim and were come to the desert of Sinai and had pitched in the wilderness. And there Israel camped before the mount. And Moshe went up unto Elohim. And Elohim called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shall you say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel, You have seen what I did unto the Egyptian, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. Now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine.
Now, therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people. These are Yahweh's words. Yahweh says that you will be a peculiar treasure unto me. The first thing we do is succumb to peer pressure and try to be like everybody else. What he has said unto us is that you're supposed to be a peculiar treasure. You're supposed to stand out. You're supposed to be different. We try to be undifferent. If the world walks and wears one set of clothing, we want to wear the exact same stuff that everybody else wears. We are trying to fit in. But then we have to ask ourselves, how does Yahweh get glory if we fit in? If we show up to a place and we look like everybody else in that place, how does he get glory from us? Go ahead.
And you shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and an holy nation.
Not a tribe of priests. We already have a tribe of priests. Matter of fact, he had just given us a tribe of priests. There's a tribe, Levi, who are the priests. That is the Levitical priesthood. But automatically, he's already on a whole nother level. You shall be unto me a kingdom of priests. So if there's a kingdom of priests, the priests operate differently. This is why when we go into the New Testament in 1 Corinthians 11 and we start reading about a man covering his head, we have to then ask ourselves, are you a man or a priest? Because if we're dealing with the children of Israel, he was already going to the next level. When you talk about who follows Yahshua, it wasn't 144,000 of Levi. 12,000 from each 12 of those tribes. Yahshua is our high priest. So those are under priests following him out of every tribe of Israel. Not one. Go ahead.
These are the words which you shall speak unto the children of Israel. And Moshe came and called for the elders of the people, and laid before their faces all these words, which Yahweh commanded him. And all the people answered together and said, all that Yahweh has spoken we will do.
All right, so we just agreed to the marriage covenant. He said, do you? We will. I do. We agreed. Go ahead.
And Moshe returned the words of the people unto Yahweh. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, lo, I come unto you in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak with you, and believe you forever. And Moshe told the words of the people unto Yahweh. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, go unto the people, and sanctify them today and tomorrow, and let them wash their clothes.
You know, when you look at this whole situation of this being a marriage, you have Moshe standing as the minister, standing in between Yahweh and his wife. And his wife, he asks, will you do all of these things? She says, I will do. Then the minister who stands in the middle takes the word that the wife says and presents them unto the groom.
Yeah.
All of this is taking place here. So that later on when Israel violates this, you hear Yahweh saying things, for I am married unto you. Wait a minute, when did he get married? There you go right there. There you go right there. So then these were house rules that was given. And later on his wife decided that she didn't want to follow those house rules, because later on he said, you became beautiful, you became you had all this glory, you had all this honor through my comeliness which I put upon you, not because you were some great one. My comeliness that was then upon you made you great. And then later on you decided that you didn't want to follow the house rules, the same ones that you agreed to. Go ahead.
Verse 11. And be you ready against the third day, for the third day Yahweh will come down in the sight of all the people upon Mount Sinai.
All right, so now this third day, the state changes. All right, verse 10, and Yahweh said unto Moshe, go unto the people, sanctify them today and tomorrow, and let them wash their clothes, and be ready against the third day. Here we go again, that cleanliness is next to godliness. All right, so as we're preparing to meet Yahweh, we know that just on one day, if you wash your feet, the sun go down, you are spiritually clean. But Yahweh, before being presented before him, he wanted something deeper than that. Go ahead.
And you shall set bounds unto the people round about, saying, take heed to yourselves, that you go not up into the mount, or touch the border of it. Whosoever toucheth the mount shall be surely put to death.
All right. So when you talk about the Spirit of Yahweh descending on this mount, he is now sitting at this mount. Then now becomes his throne. He's sitting there. Once he sits on this throne, you are not allowed to touch it. Only holy people who have been anointed to do that service can touch that. You found Moshe and Joshua constantly there when the Spirit of Yahweh appeared, and nothing happened to them. But anybody outside of that covenant agreement, they touched it, something happened to them. When you talk about the brother who accidentally touched the ark and he died right away. Why? Because that was the place that Yahweh would descend. His spirit would be right there and commune with the children of Israel. You can't touch that at that point. This is why it's certain holy things you don't just put your hands on. Go ahead.
Verse 13. There shall not an hand touch it, but he shall surely be stoned or shot through, whether it be beast or man.
Check that out, beast or man. You let your animal wander too far, he got to deal with it too. It cannot touch Yahweh's seat. So then you have to think about just how foul then Lucifer's desire. I will be just like the Most High. I will sit upon the congregation in the sides of the north. Wait a minute. You covered in the seat. Now here it is. He's supposed to be covered in the seat. He said, I don't want to cover the seat. I want to sit in the seat. Go ahead.
It shall not live. When the trumpet sounded when the trumpet sounded long, they shall come up to the mount. And Moshe went down from the mount unto the people and sanctified the people, and they washed their clothes.
And they washed their clothes. Go ahead.
And he said unto the people, be ready against the third day. Come not at your wives.
Right. So then there's no cohabitation between a man and his wife. Setting forth this righteous separation going up to this third day, this 3-day sanctification period. Then you put all of those things together, the washing of the clothes, the separation, to sanctify against the third day. Now they are able to stand before Yahweh and not be consumed. See, we don't really understand what the power is, what all of this is for. It is so that we can abide the power. The power is so strong. Wood, hay, and stubble is burnt up. Only precious metals can abide the fire. You have to put yourself in a precious metal state, then approach unto Yahweh. Otherwise, you're going to get consumed. He's not just doing some things. He's showing you how to come near him and still live. Go ahead.
And he said unto the people, be ready against the third day. Come not at your wives. And it came to pass on the third day in the morning that there were thunders and lightnings and a thick cloud upon the mount, and the voice of the trumpet exceeding loud. So shall all the people that was in the camp tremble. And Moshe brought forth the people out of the camp to meet with Elohim. And they stood at the nether part of the mount. And Mount Sinai was altogether on a smoke, because Yahweh descended upon it in fire. And the smoke thereof ascended as the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mount quaked greatly.
Yeah, this is a lot going on. All right. This is extreme power. This is why you have to be in precious metal state. Okay, look, we flesh. You're not gonna be in precious metal state all the time, but you sure better figure out what time to be in precious metal state. I tell you that this ain't a good time to be wood, hay, and stubble. He descends upon it in fire. What happened to wood when fire show up? Done deal. Thank you for coming out. God bless. Good night. You out of here. So this is the time you want to transform and make sure that you're in precious metal state. When he descends upon it in fire and smoke and it quakes, you gonna abide the fire. But you got to be ready for that fire. You can't treat it like any old regular time. There's definitely going to be some times in our lives that we are wood, hay, and stubble. You might want to have some sense and say, you know what? I ain't walking toward the fire today. Why? Because I ain't quite right. This is why it's written, let a man examine himself. Go ahead.
And when the voice of the trumpet sounded long and waxed louder and louder.
Now this is a lot going on. You got fire, you got smoke, you got the mount quaking greatly, and now you got a extremely loud trumpet. All that's going on at the same time. If you have not sanctified yourself against the third day, you are going to have some problems. Go ahead.
Moshe spake, and Elohim answered him by a voice. And the Elohim and Yahweh came down upon Mount Sinai on the top of the mount. And Yahweh called Moshe up to the top of the mount. And Moshe went up.
Now, Moshe ain't had no problem. Moshe ain't had no problem. He can call Moshe at any time. Moshe gone. Moshe can stay up with Yahweh, and as he stays there, he himself is being transformed into a god. When he gets ready to come against back to the people, they got afraid of him. They said, man, his face glowing. He had to put a covering over his face because he started to scare them. So the power of Yahweh wasn't destroying Moshe. The power of Yahweh was turning Moshe into a god. You have to ask yourself, when it was time for him to die, why Yahweh got to tell him he finna die? All right, prepare yourself, you finna die. Now walk over here while I'm telling you. Well, you got to walk on, why don't you just die like everybody else? Well, just go on and die, just and go to sleep. Just go do what they, cough, die. You know what I'm saying? What everybody else, two coughs on a croak. That's not what happened here. It said he still got his same strength. He still got his same eyesight. He still got everything. And Yahweh said, come. It's time for you to go away from me. Where you going? And who bearing him? Well, see, he spent some time with Elohim. And if you spend that time with Elohim, it is going to change you. That's the thing that we have to understand. Let's go to John chapter 13. The question is, do we want that change? Because, see, there's a part where we'll feel ourselves changing, and then we'll try to jump back and revert back to what we were. Why? Because what we were is known. It's familiar. I can close my eyes and walk back to the familiar place. Now, ain't nobody ain't get there and say, man, it's dark out here. You need a flashlight? Boy, I know how to get to hell so easy. Boy, stop. I tell you what. Put a blindfold on me. Tie both my hands behind my back. Let me just have one foot. Watch I hop to hell. I know where it's at. When you find somebody who know their house, when the lights go out, they can walk all the way through that house. Matter of fact, when you know your kids, you even know, I bet little James left that toy in the floor. You cannot see, step over the toy, everybody else falling all over the place. They're like, how you know that? Because I know I told that boy to pick that up, but that boy don't listen. So I didn't have to see it to know it was still in the floor. Because I had to tell that boy 4 times to move it, and I only told him 3 today. So I know it ain't moved. So without any sight, walk directly in the dark, step right over what he cannot see, but believe that it's there. But when Yahweh gets ready to make those changes, you have to sacrifice that familiar part. And sometimes that's a work in progress to do that. John chapter 13, let's start at verse 1.
John chapter 13, verse 1. Now before the feast of the Passover, when Yeshua knew that his hour was come, that he should depart out of this world unto the Father, having loved his own which were in the world, he loved them unto the end.
He loved them unto the end, but please don't get it twisted. He loved them. He chastised them constantly. What does it say? Whom the Father loves, he chastens. Why? Because he want to make them better. See, it's a whole lot of people that think that love is giving you everything that you ask for, that love is giving you everything that you desire. That's not love. There's a part of love where you have to completely deny somebody. I want to do this. No, that's not good for you. And you got to love them enough to fight with them. No, that's not good. Don't do that. So it is that thing when you talk about you give a child everything that child wants. You have created a serious monster. And the world not going to turn around and give your baby everything your baby want. Because first of all, your baby get big, it ain't no baby no more. Now it's a baby to you. But that's a full-grown stinking man right there. Now, it still want baby treats. Because you done babied it all this time. Now, it's not ready for the world. Now, it's wanting the world to lay down and die for it. It want the world to sing to it. Then you have to ask, did you really love that thing? How did you love it? Yahshua loves so much that he prepares. That's a different kind of love. That's true love. He loves it enough to prepare it. Go ahead.
And so the devil having now put into the heart of Yehudas Iscariot, Simeon's son, to betray him.
Now, you ever sit back and really think about how interesting it is that the devil didn't enter into him until after he ate the Passover? Now, and Yahshua already knows that this has to happen. But it is after this being ended, boom. Now, this devil has got him full-fledged and is taking him into the places that this evil spirit need for him to go. Go ahead.
Yeshua, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he was come from Elohim and went to Elohim, he riseth from supper and laid aside his garments and took a towel and girded himself. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towels wherewith he was girded.
So this is the whole understanding behind the foot washing that we do at Passover. So how our festivities will go, we will have our Passover sermon. We will take part in the body and the blood. We will have our meal, and then after that we will have our foot washing. This order is set forth by the way that Yahshua dealt with things. After supper being ended, the devil now put into the heart of Judas Iscariot to betray him. That's after partaking of the Passover. So this washing can't come before that. There's something going on right there. Go ahead.
Then cometh he to Simeon Cephas, and Cephas said unto him, Adonai, do you wash my feet? Yeshua answered and said unto him, What I do, you know it not now, but you shall know hereafter. Cephas said unto him, You shall never wash my feet. Yeshua answered him, If I wash you not, you has no part with me.
All right. So at this point, it's an honor thing with him. He believes that Yahshua has too much honor to wash his feet. He's not trying to be difficult. He just believes that, you're greater than me. All right? Because he doesn't really understand what's happening. Okay? Yahshua is on a whole nother level. He says, what I do now, you don't know. You know not what I do now. You'll figure it out later. Go ahead.
Simeon Cephas said unto him, Adonai, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head. Yeshua said to him, He that is washed needeth not save to wash his feet, but is clean every whit, and you are clean, but not all.
All right. So he says, He that is washed need not save to wash his feet, but is clean every whit. So I don't need to wash your hands and your head. I don't need to do all I need to do is wash your feet. Go ahead.
For he knew who should betray him. Therefore said he, You are not all clean. So after he had washed their feet and had taken his garments and was sit down again, he said unto them, Know you what I have done to you?
Do you understand what I have done unto you? So there are things that are going on, and it's very interesting that, before being in the Word, I had never seen anybody go through any type of foot washing whatsoever. Go ahead.
You call me master and Adonai, and you say, well, for so I am. If I then, your Adonai and master, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example that you shall do as I have done to you.
I have given you an example that you should do as I have done unto you. Go ahead.
Verily, verily, I say unto you, the servant is not greater than his master, neither he that is sent greater than he that sent him. If you know these things, happy are you if you do them. I speak not of you all. I know whom I have chosen, but that the scripture may be fulfilled. He that eateth bread with me has lifted up his heel against me.
All right. It says, I speak not of you all. I know whom I have chosen, but that the scripture may be fulfilled. He that eats bread with me has lifted up his heel against me. There is some deception that must go forward. And he's not going to stop it. And he wouldn't tell them who it was because they would have stopped it. Go ahead.
Now I tell you before it come, that when it is come to pass, you may believe that I am he. Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that receiveth whomsoever I send receiveth me, and he that receiveth me receiveth him that sent me. When Yeshua had thus said, he was troubled in spirit, and testified and said, verily, verily, I say unto you, that one of you shall betray me. Then the disciples looked one on another, doubting of whom he spake. Now there was leaning on Yeshua's bosom one of his disciples, whom Yeshua loved. Simeon Cephas therefore beckoned to him that he should ask who it shall be of whom he spake.
Now, this was the wrong person, absolute wrong person that he could have told. See, you have to know that there's some people, even though you love them, these last ones you should tell the secret to right here. This ain't the man. Cause let me tell you something. Now, if he tell him right now, they having emergency auditions for Judas, because Judas gonna be dead before he get to go anywhere if he tell Cephas right now. See, this is where you got to learn this certain folk. Oh no, don't tell him. Don't tell anybody but him. Don't tell him. Don't tell him. I'm telling you, he gonna kill Judas. Judas gonna be out of here. Now, but see, now we got a problem. Who gonna betray Yeshua now? Now we got a problem. That somebody has to offer up the lamb for the sins of the children of Israel. Who gonna do that now? And then out of his zeal, now this thing has been stopped. So then what seems like it was good wasn't then good then, was it? Go ahead.
He then lying on Yeshua's breast said unto him, Adonai, who is it? Yeshua answered, he it is to whom I shall give a sop when I have dipped it. And when he had dipped the sop, he gave it to Yehudas Iscariot, the son of Simeon. And after the sop, Satan entered into him. Then said Yeshua unto him, that you that which
that thou doest, do quickly. All right. Now, what's interesting? It seemed like everybody should have figured this out when he says this part where to him whom I shall give a sop. But then you wonder, how many other people he might have done that to, and then the last one, all right, he does this, Judas takes it, boom, here come the devil into him. Because you look at some of these things where the same thing may happen to a couple of people, but the devil don't enter into them. Go ahead.
Verse 28. Now no man at the table knew for what intent he spake this unto him. For some of them taught, because Yehudas had the bag that Yeshua had said unto him, buy those things that we have need of against the feast, or that he should give something to the poor. He then, having received the sop, went immediately out, and it was night.
All right. So at this point, now it is set in motion for this betrayal to go down. But part of this, there's this part where after they have partaken of the Passover, there was this foot washing. And we have to back up a little bit here. Let's go to Exodus chapter 30. Yeshua asked them, do you understand what I have done unto you? Exodus chapter 30, and I want you to start at verse 17.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, you shall also make a laver of brass, and his foot also of brass, to wash withal, and you shall put it between the tabernacle of the congregation and the altar.
Wait a minute. You shall make a laver of brass where you will wash, and it needs to be between the tabernacle of the congregation and the altar. Go ahead.
And you shall put water therein. For Aaron and his sons shall wash their hands and their feet thereat. When they go into the tabernacle of the congregation, they shall wash with water, that they die not. Or when they come near to the altar to minister, to burn offering made by fire unto Yahweh.
So they have to go through this ceremonially to wash as they are dealing with these holy things. Once again, cleanliness is next to godliness. Because they are approaching close unto Yahweh and they're going to be doing this service, there was a laver of brass so that they could wash their hands and their feet. Yeshua asked them, do you understand what I've done unto you? When what people don't understand, there was a part where the disciples on the Sabbath day was walking, and they were at some point they were hungry, and they picked through the corn. They said, wait a minute, why do your disciples do that which is not lawful on the Sabbath day? And he automatically started going into a situation about Dawid and all of those things. And then Yeshua starts saying, the priests profane the Sabbath and are held blameless. Why? Because they work and they collect offering on the Shabbat, which means not only are they working, but they also getting paid. So the Sabbath is an exact opposite for the priest than it is for everybody else. So once again, when you go back to that 1 Corinthians 11, is that a man who reading that or a priest? Because the priest Sabbath is totally different from everybody else's Sabbath. Priests work on the Sabbath. So you have a whole time people say, well, you know what, man, I can't do this because it's the Sabbath. All right, well, you're just in the wrong place. Because here the priests, the priests work. See, that's what's happening there. They're not coming in. These offerings ain't offering themselves. That fire didn't jump up and burn itself. That incense didn't light itself. That wood didn't jump off the tree, cut itself, and then carried itself to the place of the fire. That bread didn't cook itself. Somebody did that. Go ahead.
So they shall wash their hands and their feet, that they die not.
Okay, so wait a minute now. So washing their hands and their feet before they deal with these holy things was putting them in another state so that the fire of Elohim would burn, but it wouldn't consume them. Go ahead.
And it shall be a statute forever to them, even to him and to his seed throughout their generations. Moreover, Yahweh spake
That's
unto
as far as
Moses.
I want to go right there. So one of these things here, so you see the cleaning that they had set up, and then you see Yahshua's version of dealing with those things. And he said, you ought to do this for one another. You ought to help cleanse one another. See, there are times when I might have gotten in something and Yahweh won't hear my prayer, but he might hear his prayer. So then when it come down to yes, a regular day, I can wash my own feet. Then there are times that we have to help cleanse one another. Somebody else had to wash my feet. And then I got to wash somebody else's. This is the way that Yahweh makes sure that there's no lone rangers. There's no islands where I can do this all by myself. If that's the case, you got to be one of these three. You either Moshe, Yahshua, or Daniel. You got to be somebody. If you ain't one of them three, you gonna need some help. Let's go to Exodus chapter 13.
Verse 1.
Yes, let's start at verse 1.
And Yahweh spake unto Moshe, saying, Sanctify unto me all the firstborn, whatsoever openeth the womb among the children of Israel, both of man and of beast, it is mine.
All right, so when it says that, I'll talk about the first fruits. The first fruit belong unto Yahweh. So what Yahweh did, instead of the firstborn of all men, he said, you know what? I take the Levites instead. I sanctified them unto me. They are mine. So the Levites owe Yahweh service. See, there's a level of the children of Israel who were created as a whole to be Yahweh's servants. Then they're the Levites. Totally different level of servitude right there. And there's certain people that have a drive within them that they can't explain. They don't know why the drive is there. They don't know why they'll spend extra time. Other people will be gone. But it's just not in them to lead. They want to do this. They want to do that. They don't know where it comes from. There's a different drive for them. And it's over and above the rest of the children of Israel. Go ahead.
And Moshe said unto the people, Remember this day in which you came out from Egypt, out of the house of bondage. For by strength of hand Yahweh brought you out from this place. There shall no leavened bread be eaten. Mm-hmm. This day came you out in the month of Abib.
And when you deal with Abib, it says green ear. So what's happening is this is the beginning of your growth. Now, this whole thing is getting distorted under the rulership of the heathen. Now you have the seasons changing, but because they've done so much to the earth, it's been warm already. They have to spray to try to make it colder. So now it'll go from one day being 75 degrees, and then 2 days after that is 50. And you can mark your clock by it. Once they spray, we know for a fact the temperature is about to drop another 15 degrees, and it's windy every time this happens. But eventually what happens? It starts to alter the times of the seasons because the earth is warming up. There are places where it normally snows. Some of those people say they haven't gotten any snow. And it's normal for them to get snow all the time, and they haven't gotten it. What's happening? They have worshiped the sun for so long, S-U-N, that he's given that sun closer to him, and it's causing some problems. So now man spraying is his idea that he can force that sun's energy back into the atmosphere. But Yahweh will not be denied. Go ahead.
And it shall be when Yahweh shall bring you into the land of the Canaanites and the Hittites and the Amorites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, which he sware unto your fathers to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey, that you shall keep this service in this month. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread, and in the seventh day shall be a feast to Yahweh. Unleavened bread shall be eaten 7 days, and there shall no leavened bread be seen with you, neither shall there be leaven seen with you in all your quarters.
All right, so if there shall be no leaven seen with you in all your quarters, now you're going through your house, removing anything that could contain leaven, and then we already seen the whole process of washing as this cleanliness. We've seen it with the laver of brass. We've seen it with washing of the clothes. We've seen with the separation of a man between his wife. You see all of that in this setup. Then you think about what we have been told was spring cleaning. Why was it spring cleaning? Why they didn't do it some other time? Why did it happen in the spring?
Season.
See, but it directly coincides. This is the game of how the heathen has to give us another way to look at something, so we won't attribute it unto dealing with Yahweh. We've been dealing with it. We've been dealing with it before we even got in the Word. We just didn't know what it was. But when you look at how powerful that change is, think about all of these people who have a picture of the Last Supper on their wall, but have never kept the Passover. All they had to do was change the name. So instead of dealing with this as unleavened bread, what we were given was spring cleaning. So you've always kept some form of unleavened bread. You just didn't even know it. You didn't know what you was removing out of your house. You didn't know where the concept came from. You've been in it. But how crafty is the adversary, the devil, that he will have you doing something and you don't even understand what it is you're doing. You don't even understand what the basis of it is. You just know that all of a sudden now mama want the windows clean. She want the drapes clean. Mama, who clean drapes? Pull the dresser out, baby, and get behind that dresser. Mama, that stuff behind that dresser for a whole year. I promise you, that stuff ain't bothered nobody. Mama, it might be a little man behind that dresser. Let's just leave that there. Pull the bed out. Let's get behind that. Mama, I've been hiding stuff under that bed. I don't want you to pull that out. What are you talking about? Where you going with this? She going right back here. And she don't even know why she going. Go ahead, brother.
I just realized, Lucifer tried to get us to do the opposite of what Yahweh commanded us to do, but he's still keeping Yahweh feast days, man. And
ain't that slick?
Yeah, and making his appearance and
trying
stuff.
to keep it too. But ain't that slick?
Yeah.
That he would tell you not to do something, but then you read in Job, it's these holy days. Mm-hmm. Lucifer come up. It says it was a time when all the angels came to present themselves, and Lucifer came also.
Yep.
He said, hey, man, where you been? Oh, man, up and down. Up and down. See, there go them wandering stars. When you look up, here come a wandering star, just drive right by your place. Where you going? Where you been? Up and down, to and fro, seeking to whom I might destroy. Doing what I do. Oh, okay. Right. That what you just look up and here come Lucifer. And then he look like he always been there. He look like he ain't been gone nowhere. You ain't seen him in a month of Sundays.
Wow.
But he just show up. But he gonna still show up while telling everybody else not to.
Come on now.
You know what? I don't even think they're gonna keep the holy days this year. They're probably not gonna keep it. I don't tell you, if I was you, I wouldn't even go. I mean, they probably not gonna do it. They probably not gonna keep the holy days.
Right. If that ain't the devil, and understand, when you're dealing with the adversary, the devil, you're dealing with a spirit, not a person. A spirit can change what a host it uses. So we will sometimes be focusing on the individual But that spirit has already left that host and got into another host. Now you're angry with this person. That's not the person that is the issue. Remember, the spirit went into Judas at a certain point. But if you keep reading, you'll also find that when that spirit was done, it left Judas. It didn't stay with him. It stayed with him long enough to do that job. It stayed with him long enough to betray Yahshua. After that, it didn't need to stay with him. Matter of fact, like, you are really of no use to him. The evil spirit no longer needs Judas. Why? Because he can't get close to Yahshua anymore. The only reason he needed you, because you were close to Yahshua. So once you'll find that you may think that, this person is a devil. No, the devil was just using that person. Once that person is no longer around you, the devil don't need them anymore, because the devil was only trying to get to you. So now that devil is going to be looking for another one of your friends. Now you can keep focusing on that other individual all you want, but that spirit done left them. It has done all the dirt it can do with them. It has to find another host. So hopefully in all of these things, we will begin to see some of that. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 8. And you shall shew your son in that day, saying, this is done because of that which Yahweh did unto me when I came forth out of Egypt. And it shall be for a sign unto you upon your hand, and for a memorial between your eyes, that Yahweh's law may be in your mouth. For with a strong hand as Yahweh brought you out of Egypt, you shall therefore keep this ordinance in his season from year to year.
Right. And this is why I don't argue with people about what day they're going to keep their holy days. It needs to be in his season. Do you understand? From one place of the earth to another place of the earth, the climate varies. Let it be in his season. And as long as those things are in his season, I understand that after a while, my elder stopped dealing with things. And I used, because, I was, young and full of dumb energy. And, I was like, yeah, elder, let's go fight. And he was like, boy, go sit down somewhere. You don't understand that until you get a little bit older. Now I have to tell people, boy, go sit down somewhere. I now understand what the old man was saying. Boy, calm down. We ain't dealing with all that. But I understand when I see these brothers bright-eyed, ready to jump on everything. I was like, I remember when. I remember, and the old man was just trying to say, boy, will you calm down? I get it now. I get it. Go ahead.
And it shall be when Yahweh shall bring you into the land of the Canaanites, as he sware unto you and your fathers, they shall give it you, that you shall set apart unto Yahweh all that openeth the matrix, and every firstling that cometh of a beast which you have, the males shall be Yahweh's. And every firstling of an ass you shall redeem with a lamb. And if you will not redeem it, then you shall break his neck. And all the firstborn of man among your children shall you redeem.
All right, that's as far as I want to go right there. So we then see, even with this cleaning, this spring cleaning, it goes right back into the things that Yahweh has given unto us. And it even goes into this time. Just the fact that it was called spring cleaning. It wasn't called fall cleaning. They didn't have autumnal cleaning. They didn't have the winter cleaning. Why did it have to be spring cleaning? But then you look at even how they use the time to set up Easter. They make sure that they count and deal with the first full moon after the vernal equinox, so they can try to keep it in its season. This is why you ain't never had a winter Easter. It's always gonna be at that time. That's the one that has this equation, and you never know the date of Easter until they put out the calendar. You know the day of Christmas? Christmas gonna be on the 25th every year. It don't matter if the 25th fall on Sunday, if it fall on Monday, if it fall on any day. That's still gonna be Christmas. And even as going through all of these things, we never asked ourselves, Mama, why does Easter change and Christmas don't? Because I mean, you have to think about the thought process.